Morning everyone and welcome to the Pyrenees in France. I'm here for the next 4 or 5 days exploring both the French and the Spanish side of the famous mountain range. Today I'm at what is probably the most famous and potentially most spectacular waterfall in France, the Gavarnie Falls in the Cirque de Gavarnie. A 422 metre high waterfall, which is just looks unbelievably spectacular. You can kind of see behind me, it's quite a foggy day out, so we'll see how much the visibility is blocked, but it's about an hour's walk up from the village of Gavarnie. Let's check it out. The trade-off you really have this morning is it's really cloudy, but the reason for that is it rained all night, so just about to cross over the river here, which leads from the waterfall, and it's pumping through. Typically, I'm here in early September, typically sort of May, June, July, there's the river, is the best sort of time to see these alpine, like snow melt and glacier fed waterfalls. But hopefully after a night of rain, there's a lot of water coming through, provided I can actually see it, because right now, it doesn't look promising up there. Another thing to be aware of is all through town, there's signs at sort of the start of the town talking about €8 parking, which is like the official parking. But what you want to do is drive all the way to the end of the road, or as far as you can drive, and then there's a sign. It's on Google Maps as parking panoramique, and it's only €5 and you go into a hotel to pay. So that's your best bet. So with this hike, you're pretty much getting yourself in for a 9-kilometre return trek. The first part's along these roads here, which you're not really meant to drive up. Look down back towards the village. And then as we go higher up, we'll get a little bit more rugged and we get further up into the valley to the waterfall. There's loads of these little like restaurants and little cheese vendors and stuff along the way, so you can kind of make a day of it and sample a bit of the local cuisine as you go, which is quite cool. Passing by a pretty decent and significant waterfall just in someone's backyard along the way. Quite impressive, but unfortunately behind a fence, as I wouldn't mind getting a bit closer up to that one. Come to a point where I think here's the view I'm meant to be seeing, but not so much. Maybe later on the way back. Just as I say that, leaving that lookout, the clouds are just starting to lift. So all those waterfalls you see there aren't actually the main Grand Cascade. They're all the side waterfalls. And if they're pumping like that, I reckon the main falls will be pretty spectacular. Passing by another pretty impressive side waterfall as we go further up this valley, which is just incredible. As the mist just starts to rise, just the little glimpse of waterfalls through the mist. Just extraordinary. I'm hoping it clears up later so we can see the comparison of what it's like with this sort of low mist, and then when you see all the mountain peaks that would emerge above. It's certainly not a hard walk by any means, still going this sort of road which leads up eventually to a hotel where you get like really good views of the Cirque, quite a famous hotel which we can't be too far away from now, but as you can hear from my puffing, gives a fair bit of uphill as you're climbing higher into the mountains, which is to be expected really. I'm really hoping these clouds lift. They're kind of teasing at the moment. I'll just hang out all day if I have to. I'm not going to miss out seeing this waterfall. Alrighty, approaching the famous Hotel du Cirque. Now that thick waterfall you see up there, that is the Grand Cascade. Except it's only actually the lower tier. That's 100 metres high, that tier. The upper tier is another 300 metres, so gives you some idea of what's hidden behind the clouds. Because just that falls itself, you can see, it looks massive. Spectacular views in towards the Cirque now. The only minor issue with all this rain and water is there's a couple of slightly nasty creek crossings as you enter into the Cirque. Nothing incredibly challenging, but some slippery rocks and fast flowing water after all this rain. And just as I'm filming, the main fall's just coming into view a bit more. Absolutely incredible sight. Well, the clouds are finally lifted, and this is without question one of the most spectacular places I've ever seen. Just extraordinary. You've got the Grand Cascade, which is 422 metres high, if you don't mind, and then probably 20 other waterfalls. Once the clouds, but just so many waterfalls everywhere. It reminds me quite a lot of Geltenbach Falls in Switzerland, and that kind of grand Cirque style, except this is twice the size, and that was pretty spectacular on its own. I'll give you a look around, because it's just, words can't describe this place. And that's back down to the hotel. Trekking uphill and further uphill. It's kind of deceptively long and hard, the hike just from down at the hotel to up here. Just because of how humongous these waterfalls are, you kind of feel like you're closer to them when you're actually still a ways off. Trekking up the scree slopes, but the views are just unmatched. Wow, I'm standing right at the spray zone of the Grand Cascade. I'm still not that close to the base, to be honest. I'm getting absolutely blasted, so I'm not sure I'm going to get any closer because it's not a warm morning, but the view is just incredible. Something I just noticed on the way back down, which is kind of cool. You look in there, that's actually ice. Now, we're in the first week of September, and that is ice that still clung on from last winter. Just shows actually a fairly high elevation up here. But even so, very, very resilient piece of ice. Well, I've pretty much wandered back into civilization now, in kind of the slightly more built up section of the valley here. Unfortunately, the clouds kind of rolled in again, so I didn't get any real good views of the falls from the various lookouts on the way back I'd hoped. But in saying that, it's also fortunate because then I got that sort of half-hour window where it was really clear to get some nice photos. In my mind, the Cirque de Gavarnie, and specifically the Grand Cascade, is the best waterfall in Europe outside Iceland and Norway. Just incredibly spectacular. 400 metre high falls and then 15 waterfalls just surrounding it. A must visit if you're a waterfall bagger getting around France. About a 10-kilometre return walk to get up to the waterfall, pretty easy, just a bit rocky and steep towards the end, but yeah, I'd say only a moderate hike. Give yourself 3 hours return, I'd say. And yeah, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.